The 2025 NFL Combine is finally here, and we're going to help you profit from it with our picks and predictions for the 40-yard dash. All this and more. It's a new episode of the IBT podcast coming right at you.
I've been going dummy, out of bounds, putting on a clinic. Stick around, carrots in my hardware. KC, caught him in the crosshair. Look at me, been the guy calling Mr. MVP. Keep your ass on the bench by my MPC. Earn my stripes like I fix this league. Your dog's on the turf, my dog's in the street. You can find me somewhere in between. Never a dull moment like a movie scene. About to do the ops like I did this beat. Let them keep talking RG3. Coming to you live. This is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right. It is Wednesday, February 2025, and this is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your place for both a refreshing and feel-good take on fantasy football and NFL gambling. Tonight, we head back to the betting streets, giving you our top picks and predictions for the 2025 NFL Scouting Combine. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, and I am absolutely buzzing this evening as the NFL community is very much alive out in the great city of Indianapolis this very week. Tonight, I'm joined by a man who's a big business, light ranching son of a bitch, Eric Romoff. Eric, how you doing as the NFL Combine is officially here, the next stop on the road to the NFL Draft?
I love the NFL Combine because it is a way to commemorate the progression through the offseason, right? It's the next thing before the next thing, and that's ultimately how we bide our time and make ourselves feel a little better while we wait for the season to ramp up. But honestly, I think the Combine's a little bit dumb. I don't think that we should really put as much weight on these test results as we do out there. I think it has a lot more to do with the trade markets and some of the free agency moves than it does with actual player evaluation.
Oh, yeah, a lot of moving and shaking behind the scenes that we're going to have no clue is going down in Indianapolis. And, I was talking with D-Bro over on the Fancy Pros NFL Draft Show last week, Eric, and it was really about a discussion surrounding, like, we don't want to double count. Like, there are guys coming into this event that we knew were freak shows. They don't get extra bonus points because they prove our priors, right? So this is all kind 100%. Of factoring into the equation. It's writing a new chapter, but it's still just one part of it, right?
Yeah. Like nobody's going to be all that different from what you see over the course of their career or what you found from them on tape, right? But really what you're looking to do is either confirm what you saw in your analysis, or if you see something different, it's like, all right, clearly I need to go back and take a closer look, watch some different games, watch a different film source, right? But I mean, at this point, we got a pretty good gauge. It's still fun. Like, I will watch every single minute of it, right?
Yeah.
But I do think that it can kind of swing, especially the fantasy sentiment, a little bit more than it should.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you there. We're also joined by a man who is the resident masshole of this particular program, our entertainment and NFL betting expert here at IBT, Boston's boy, Steve Lawson. Steve, what's going on, man? Are you ready to bet on some dudes running fast?
You know what? As a guy who used to be fast and isn't fast anymore, I watch this with nothing but pure jealousy. Knee injuries and knee surgery sapped my speed. It's been a week. I'll tell you, it's been a week for me. I woke up on Monday, I think, and I had 8 new bosses here at IBT. So that was big news in my life, which was great. Speaking of the Combine, though, I do think Eric has a point where this is kind of a silly little like field day, essentially.
Sure.
I am seeing a lot of people sitting out this year, and people are getting kind of pissy about it. And you have to realize, like Eric said, if you are a physical freak, right? Like you've shown it on the field, there is no incentive for you to show up at the Combine because God forbid you have a bad 40 time because you don't get off the blocks quick enough. All you're going to do is hurt your draft stock. There's no reason for Shedeur Sanders to throw. There's no reason for Cam Ward to throw. All they'll do is hurt their stock. If they are projected 1-2, it's not like there's a super number one that like will award them, an extra year of $100 million on their contract. All it'll do is hurt them. So I think there's a lot that the Combine hurts more than it helps. I do think we focus on the wrong stuff. Tonight, we are going to bet on the 40-yard dash times. not because the 40-yard dash is the most important, but because it's fun to watch people run really fast.
Yeah.
When you're looking at like the wide receiver position, you need to look at like the three cone shuttle drill.
Yes.
That's what's going to tell you who is the best.
Gauntlet.
Like, yeah, that's because
Gauntlet has me in a stranglehold.
Yeah, because you look at guys like some of the best receivers in the league right now did not run elite 40 times, but they sure ran really elite shuttle times. And that's what you need to see. So I think the combine is kind of a lot of glitz and glamour, but the ugly stuff is really where it's at.
Well, and a couple years ago too, like I remember writing off Kyron Williams because he had a slow as hell 40 time, and when it all shook out though, when you look back, his 10-yard split was great. So there are different metrics we can consider, and like the 40-yard dash is the most fun to bet on. That's what we're going to give the people tonight as our best bets for that in between bets, but it is not the end all be all. And you can't fall in and out of love of prospects. We'll talk more about that later. We're also going to give you some good news tonight, feel good headlines for the sports and pop culture world. Also, I did want to shout out the IBT family. As always, please like this video if you enjoy this type of content. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're just about on the precipice of 1,400 subscribers. So if you could help get us there, that'd be awesome. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. We're usually here each and every Tuesday night chopping up about NFL, fantasy football, gambling. We are a day late this week, so we apologize about that. We're trying to wait for these odds to drop. I've been literally scrolling my phone, opening the FanDuel app every single second.
These books are scared. Like the word is out that there's an edge in these markets, and they're all posting these lines super late.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what happens out here, and I'm excited to take advantage of that, so we'll jump into that. A few quick announcements, though. As Steven mentioned, IBT, In Between Media, officially In Between Media LLC. Eric, you're joining the ownership group with us. This has always been kind of I don't want to call it a solo endeavor because it's always been a group effort from the very beginning, but I've always owned 100% of the business, and as my life continues to grow and hopefully eventually, have a family, and as my role continues to grow over FPBP as well, I felt like this was a great toast to everyone who's rode alongside me for a long time in this business, and everyone who puts so much into IBT all the time, man.
Yeah, it's awesome to see it all come together, right? Like this day has been a twinkle in your eye and part of the vision for a very long time. So it's cool to see it officially official, and to see all the different people that are taking on different roles. And look, we're out here pushing out content with our show every single Tuesday, but there's so much that IBT is doing on the content side, on the event side, a bunch of stuff turning and plate spinning behind the scenes. So it's a really momentous day for the IBT fam.
100%. And on that note of events as well, we have our 2025 draft night out tickets currently available for the getting. If you want to come draft with us, plus 200 of our favorite fantasy football enthusiasts and analysts on August 9th in Canton, Ohio, as part of the Fantasy Football Expo, tickets are available now. We got a new venue. It's going to be a lot bigger, a lot more spacious. We have new leagues going as well, including types like Best Ball, Superflex, Dynasty. We got a Champions League for past winners. Come up and prove yourself against the best of the best in an all-star league. We'll also have our shot wheel spinning, giveaways going off, and everything in between. Steve, I know you're looking forward to attending your first draft night out here this summer.
I am really, really excited. I have wanted to go to the expo for a long time, and life has really decided that I'm not privy to that. This year I am going. I have bought my ticket, and I will be attending this year. I encourage everybody to, if you love fantasy football, come to draft night out, have a beer with me and watch me fall over, because I am not a drinker. I'm such a lightweight. So if I get caught with that friggin' wheel, I am in like serious trouble. So I am so excited though. Like this is going to be like the best time I've seen. Every year I look on with absolute envy. As people post about seeing everyone at the expo and then draft night out. You guys put on a banger last year. So I'm hyped. And I get to go golfing. So I'm hyped on that too.
Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend, and you guys can get your tickets for draft night out. The link to that page on our website is in the episode description. So if you want to come hang out, drink some beers, get the shot wheel going, draft some fantasy football teams, and just enjoy the vibes of Canton, Ohio in August, no better place to wrap it all in. Make sure you're checking out DNO tickets. And boys, let's go ahead. Let's jump into the show with some Between Bets NFL Combine Edition.
between bets, between bets.
All right, we're betting on guys running quick as shit, and we're starting in the wide receiver market. We are throwing out a guy that I would, even before the odds, like truth be told, I made the thumbnail. I made this entire show before we even saw the odds. I figured he might be close to the favorite. Didn't know how much of a favorite is, but it's a guy that Steve and I are both betting on to be the fastest wide receiver in the 40-yard dash. Arian Smith coming out of Georgia. He's currently minus money, minus 105. And to be very frank with y'all, I went 5 units on this one. I absolutely love Arian Smith and what we're going to see here this weekend. And look, I do not mind paying the juice because you only pay the juice if you lose, Eric. And that's kind of my approach here with Smith, because what I love about him specifically is not only is this a guy that won the Florida track and field state championship in the 200-meter dash as a high school athlete, but also comes to Georgia then as well. And as a dual sport athlete, he has run collegiate track meets. So he has experience working with college coaches on that sprinter release. So a 10.10 second 100-meter dash. And like for reference, when we're kind of throwing out these numbers, like 10.10, that is great. That is a great number. Like for reference, Usain Bolt's world record is set just 0.52 seconds faster than that. So he's kind of on a really good, like world-class level up here. And I know when you turn on the Arian Smith tape, like it's not fun to watch. Dude has concentration drops out the ass. The inconsistency with Carson Beck and the chemistry there is absolutely tanking his stock as well. But he constantly slips past defenders deep. He shows the elite acceleration on short intermediate receptions. He's reached up to 23 miles per hour on several occasions as well. So I just don't think, Steve, there's anyone in this group that can keep up with him. And it feels like you feel the same here.
Yeah, I mean, all those points that you noted are points that I noted, right? So there's a reason that he is the heavy favorite. I mean, Xavier Worthy wasn't even getting this kind of love from the odds makers last season. He was going off at plus 290, and it was pretty well regarded that he was going to run the fastest time. Everyone's like, this is Xavier Worthy's to win. So at minus 105, for everyone to be like, he's so fast, he makes fast people look not fast. That's a quote from The Longest Yard. That's just a great compliment to Arian Smith and his skill set. I love the 5-unit bet. I love when you just put your dick out on the table like that. I think that's just a great way to lay it out there for them. Let them see what you're made of, right? Like 5 units is 5 units. And that really is, again, showing that this guy is so far and away the favorite. It's almost not worth putting money on anybody else.
Look, and I mean, I think there's some value out there down the board that we'll certainly get to, but I wanted to actually kind of stay here towards the top of the board, because the second leading favorite, Isaiah Bond, is someone, Steve, you're also taking a little nibble on, plus 130. I don't think Bond can keep up with him, specifically because of one reason. Bond, all throughout the college football season, had a bad ankle injury. It lingered into the January college football playoff games as well. And even at 100%, I don't think he can keep up with Smith in a foot race, considering that he has that collegiate level experience releasing. So I'm all in on Arian Smith. I thought about maybe hedging myself a little bit with Isaiah Bond. I usually do take that approach, but at such short odds, it's like you have to pick one. But you're liking both of them here. Do you think Bond does have a chance, or is it more just to kind of cover your ass here?
No, I do think he has a chance. So here's the thing. While this is a favorite heavy kind of situation for Smith, and I do expect him to win, the difference is it's 40 yards, right? Like he's a 100-meter dash guy, and a meter and a yard are roughly the same amount of distance. It's about 3 feet. So he may have elite top end speed that Isaiah Bond can't match. However, if he is comparable to Usain Bolt was not great out of the blocks. He was really, really, really good at staying at top end speed the entire time. that could be a situation where maybe Bond is faster off the blocks, right? It's acceleration doesn't necessarily, like, if you're fast, that doesn't mean you accelerate well. So if Bond is getting, and these are actually pretty solid odds, plus 130 is not exactly saying like this guy has no chance. So odds makers also look at him. I watched him all year, and yes, he did have an ankle injury, but even with an ankle injury, he was usually the fastest guy on the field. So I don't look at Bond and say like he's not gonna be able to put up a fight. I don't expect this to be a, like a 20th of a second kind of difference. I'm expecting this to be within a tenth of a second difference.
Okay.
Players.
Okay. Eric, how do you feel about both Arian Smith and Isaiah Bond, the two heavy favorites here? As Steve alluded to, a lot shorter odds than what we had last year in the wide receiver market.
Yeah, not good. Not good about either of them. I think both of these guys should be considered the favorites to run the fastest at the combine. But we're talking about these betting markets, right? He mentioned Xavier Worthy last year, the soon-to-be at this time record holder in the 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. He was widely regarded as the favorite, and his number was plus 290, right? Like
1.5 units on it, baby. Let's go.
There is never a world where I'm eating any juice on any of these types of player versus the field bets. And even 130, like I love getting plus money wherever I can. Even 130 is probably a little bit too short, right? Like these guys, the ones that have decided to participate in the drills, right? Like they have been doing nothing but training for specifically these drills since the moment they stopped playing football, right? Like there's a lot of variance every year. There's guys that shave, tenths of a second, hundreds of a second off of their time that we kind of see coming out of nowhere, right? Every year there's a guy who's, hamstring might be a little bit tight and they come in a little bit slower. So there's so many variables in play that I don't really like taking these numbers. I do think that Isaiah Bond has better than a puncher's chance to run the fastest among the wide receivers, right? Like, we're talking about a guy that, he saw Worthy's record last year and posted 4.2 flat next year on Instagram, right? Like he's calling his shot.
It's his background on his phone now is what they're saying.
Yeah. And the acceleration is unreal. And that goes a long way in being effective at running the fastest 40. So I don't think it's a surefire thing that we see Arian Smith just run away with this. I do think it's kind of a 2-horse race between these two, but man, these odds are pretty thin for my liking.
Okay, Eric, so let's move down the board a little bit. You like Tez Johnson coming out of Oregon. This is a slight fella. A slight fella, I think, is what you can say lightly. It's going to be really, really matter what Tez Johnson steps on the scale at to where I think he goes in the NFL draft. But you like him at 11-1. I turned on some Tez Johnson today after I saw this pick from you, and I don't know if I see quite that level of acceleration. I think the top end speed is there, but what do you like about Tez? What have you kind of seen in your film study and your metrics gathering?
Yeah, you mentioned this guy is a slight fella. That is, to put it lightly, 156 pounds soaking wet, right? But we're not here to talk about his NFL prospects. I think that he is far too slender to have a prolonged career at the NFL level. We're talking about his ability to run in a straight line for approximately 4.2 seconds. And I think being light actually kind of works in your favor there. You mentioned turning on the tape, right? Like, look, there are different GPS services out there that have clocked him among, the top 2 or 3 fastest wide receivers in the NFL this year. He's clocked in GPS in some of the postseason workouts, right? Yeah. But if nothing else, like, you can go back to that game where they were playing against Boise State, and nearly on back-to-back plays, damn near on back-to-back sequences, he had a punt return touchdown where he just absolutely pulled away from everybody. And then also his teammate Trayshawn Holden, who is a pretty quick fella himself, he had a 59-yard touchdown catch, and then Tez Johnson chased this dude down to give him a high five, and easily would have gotten to the end zone a good 5 yards before him, right? Like, this kid is incredibly quick. Again, I don't think that he should be a betting favorite, but I do think that he's going to have one of the probably 3 or 4 fastest times among wide receivers. Yeah. And if you're getting exposure to that at plus 1,100, that is exactly the type of wager that I want, right? Maybe he's been in the lab and he has perfected every part of this 40-yard dash and he turns in the fastest time. maybe 3 or 4 guys aren't quite as tip-top shape as we might have thought, right? Like there's so many things that can go into it that if I'm looking at a guy that I think is definitively in the top 5 and I'm getting plus 1100 on my wager, that is absolutely where I want to sprinkle some units.
Yeah, totally understanding. We'll talk more about it later, but he kind of fits the mold of these traditionally, slighter guys who perform in the 40-yard dash, whether it was John Ross or whether it was Henry Ruggs or whether it was last year with a guy like Xavier Worthy. These slender guys do typically perform very well. So moving down the board, staying in the wide receiver market, a guy you and I both are betting on. I took just 0.1 of a unit flyer on Matthew Golden out of Texas, just kind of save my ass in case something does go wrong here with Arian Smith. And I've really taken a liking to Golden's overall film since we've gotten out of the college football season here. He transferred from Houston, unofficial 4.38 40-yard dash during his collegiate career. Also a track guy in high school as well. I always, I never thought with like Matthew Golden that he was like traditionally like a great deep threat, like a lot of people categorize him as. But when this guy catches a crosser, he goes, man. He goes 6 foot, even, also 195 pounds. And the thing I liked about him compared to Bond in this scenario, one, you're getting 42-1 compared to Bond's even money. But more than anything, Eric, to me, the play on Golden was, this is a guy who's gotten better throughout the season. This is a guy who, by all accounts, came into the offseason healthy. And I can't say the same for Isaiah Bond.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't have the same kind of lingering question marks out there. Look, if nothing else, like very clearly Texas all of a sudden has become a speed factory, right? Xavier Worthy set the record last year. If it wasn't for Xavier Worthy, our jaws would still be on the floor about Adonai Mitchell and the 40-yard dash time that he posted last season, right? So like they have a type. They're clearly out there looking for guys that can burn, and they're trying to cultivate that skill set. But if nothing else, right? Like, I mean, 42-1 is incredible for a guy that, I was talking about Tez a moment ago, third or fourth, in where I think he'll finish and with the fastest time. Golden's probably right there, right? He's a favorite to be top 5 or 6. One of the few guys that is projected below a 4.440 over on NFL Draft Buzz. And his acceleration is like, it's crazy smooth. It's almost effortless, right? Like he's one of these guys where when you're watching him run the 40-yard dash, it's not going to look like he's flying, but all of a sudden he's going to be crossing over that line and there's going to be a very low number posted, right? So like he'll have to reach back to, realistically have a shot at posting the fastest time. But I like a quarter unit on this type of guy who's going to be in the mix at this price tag.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, do you think Bond is a guy who could potentially up his stock? I know we talked about a lot of guys, the combine being something that you can actually lose some stock value. A lot of times the agents are kind of well ahead of that and can say, hey, don't run, don't do X or Y workout. But do you think Golden could actually be someone who puts himself into that first round discussion? Because I've been seeing him mocked there towards the end of round 1 pretty frequently as of late.
He could. Again, if it's because of the 40 time, it shouldn't, right? Because like John Ross essentially launched himself into being a first round pick because he set the record for the fastest 40-yard time.
Top 10
now,
pick, yeah.
I want to throw an asterisk on all records on the 40-yard dash because Tyreek Hill never got to run it. And I think that record would have been dumb, like superhuman level. But that being said, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Matthew Golden. I don't think he's going to get into the first round because of his 40-yard dash time. Unless he runs a sub 4.3. Like it has to be like a 4.3 or lower. In which case you look and go, well, this guy had speed I had no idea he had.
Then we might be cashing that ticket, so we're feeling pretty good.
Yeah, right. But like that's what I'm saying is like unless he posts a speed that like people are like, I didn't even think he could get close to that. No, I don't believe he's gonna move his draft stock all that much with the 40-yard dash time.
Yeah, it's been interesting because I initially thought Bond was someone who was rated higher by the overall community. It feels like Golden's kind of been pushed up there quite a bit recently. So excited to kind of continue to watch that hype train. If you guys want a long shot, and I mean a long shot here, Not the typical guy who's going to go out there and usually crush the 40-yard dash, but give me freak athlete Savion Williams, wide receiver TCU at 95-1. I'm just going 0.05 of unit, so not even 0.1 of unit. This is a total flyer here. I love Savion Williams, man. Like, I think I've talked about him on this show. Like, if you ever watched a TCU game, if you took a shot every time that they said the name Savion Williams, I mean, you were hammered. But by the end of the first quarter, my friends, and was on Bruce Feldman's freak list, 6'5", 225 pounds. So, like, probably not going to run. Like, he doesn't fit that archetype for the guy who can run the fastest. But head coach Sonny Dykes, he deployed this guy everywhere. He was out wide, in the slot, in the backfield, even used as a wildcat quarterback. And I really like what Williams has done. And he was clocked at 22.5 miles per hour in 2023. And I saw a couple sites put out some projections today, and he was a guy in a lot of people's top 5, Eric. And for 95-1, even though he doesn't fit that mold, I'm willing to take just the little bit, the smallest of darts, if you would.
I'm completely here for it, right? I mean, 95-1 is insane. And you mentioned the key thing in my mind, right? He's got that GPS clock at 22.5 miles per hour. I mean, that is insanely fast. But there's also, now that GPS is becoming more and more of a prolific metric and methodology, like we can use it to be predictive, right? Zebra Technologies is one of the bigger platforms out there. They're the ones that do all the GPS tracking at the Reese's Senior Bowl, and their fastest clocked guy there at the Senior Bowl, Tariq Woolen, 22.45 miles per hour in 2022. He turned around and ran a 4.26 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine, right? So like this is precisely what we're talking about when we're putting together a strategy for these player versus field type wagers, right? Like, if your guy's in the mix, if there are data points out there that suggest that on his best day he can be as good as anyone, and he's out there with these crazy long odds, like you absolutely have to go out there and at least dabble in that market.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know in the comments below or in the live chat, guys, who you think will be the fastest wide receiver at the NFL Combine. We want to hear from you. We got our guy, we got our guy Buy and Sell You, better known as the one, the only. Do I have to say his name on this platform? I feel like I feel like
say it for the people in the back.
Yeah, give it up. That's our guy in the chat, Sam Wise. Appreciate you, Sam. He's calling out our guy Darien Porter. We're gonna get there. Just keep it in check here. Keep it in check here. Let's go,
he's
Sam.
100% correct, though.
Keep it in check. Yeah. Eric's got a little bet for you later. I think you'll like that one. Let us know in the comment your guys' favorite for each positional group. Let's go ahead to the running backs. Unlike the receiver market, there isn't a clear favorite at running back. I still do think the books got it wrong, though. Tennessee running back Dylan Sampson, he is the favorite right now, and I just think that's absolutely absurd. I like Dylan Sampson, another guy who does have some track experience, but at the same time, we saw Jalen Wright out of Tennessee last year get steamed all the way up here, and he was a heavy favorite, and he didn't really come that close to Isaac Guerendo's 4.33 second time that he set. So I think the same thing has happened with Sampson. I was talking about this with someone over text today, and they sent me a clip of Dylan Sampson getting loose. And I think if you're a 4-3 guy, you make some of the touchdowns that Sampson didn't, of the burner variety. So I think we see something similar, that Sampson disappoints a little bit. And I think the favorite should be really Virginia Tech, Bhayshul Tuten. This is a JUCO transfer. His speed jumps off the tape, both on the ground and through the air. Allegedly, and I say allegedly because this came right from the Virginia Tech Hokies college football page on the Virginia Tech website, clocked a 4.32 second 40-yard dash last offseason, boys. That's what Virginia Tech, that's what they're feeding us. Again, might be a little propaganda. Did reach a peak speed that season as well of 23.15 miles per hour. That is quick. I don't think that really lines up again with, like, he has a high school track record, 10.93 in the 100-meter dash. That doesn't really line up with those numbers that we're getting from Virginia Tech. But either way, if we're being fed a pile of shit, I'm willing to eat it here.
This is a guy, I believe, he comes from JUCO, could have got faster throughout his college career. So either way, I think he should be the favorite. Plus 250, a little bit of value there for me, Steve.
Yeah, no, it's I think he's a good value there. It's certainly not the guy I would have picked, but I certainly don't agree that he should be the favorite by any means. But I do like the tape on him. I have watched a little bit, unfortunately, being an ACC guy with my Florida State Seminoles. I have run into this young man on occasion, and so he is fast. He is incredibly fast. I don't want to minimize the importance of track times, but 100 meters is more than twice as far as they're going to run in this, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's short speed versus long speed. And I guess it's important if he's going to go from the 1 yard line to the end zone on the other side of the field.
Right.
Sure. But if he's elite getting up to speed in that first 15 yards, yeah, he has a shot at it. And I've seen him bust through the line. And what you want to look for in these running backs and players in general, right? It's not the guy who catches a 60-yard touchdown, right? That's not a real great indicator of what we're looking for. It's how fast do they go from they see the hole and they explode through it.
Right. Yep.
That explosiveness is what's going to win you a 40-yard dash.
Mm-hmm.
I think this guy does have explosiveness like that. Now, I have another guy that I think has a little bit more, and that would be TreVeyon Henderson out of Ohio State. Listen, he had us all drooling over how explosive he was in the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Right? He took that screen pass and just disappeared. He just burnt everybody. It was
against
gone.
Texas. Yeah.
Yeah. It was unreal. This guy looked like he was shot out of a cannon. And you just wonder, you're like, what in the world did I just see? There's very few guys at this point in time in NFL, in the NFL and college football space that can make a play just on pure speed alone where you go, what on earth did I just see? Because it was so fast. TreVeyon Henderson is that guy. Now, I will say he reached a max speed. I have it clocked at 22 is the number I have. He's also a 10.9 100-meter dash guy in high school. So, I don't put a ton of stock in that because high school, you're still like a kid, right? These are grown men now, right? You wouldn't want to in any other competition, we wouldn't really bring up their high school selves, right? If your high school self had to fist fight your college self, that's not a very fair fight, right? That's
I was scrappy in high school. I was scrappy.
You were scrappy, but you were also a grown man in college. You know what I mean? There is a different. Your body does change. Just medically
drank a lot.
Speaking.
Yeah. Drank a lot more
medically,
beer. Yeah.
These guys have access to training that they've never had before.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable. I mean, these guys are treated like Greek gods, and they look the part, right? So now they're faster, they're bigger, they're stronger. So yes, maybe they weren't the fastest 100-meter dash guy when they were scrawny little 18-year-olds in high school. You know what I mean? But now these grown men, their bodies and musculature is more pronounced and able and all this stuff. And now they're able to reach those peak speeds. TreVeyon Henderson, you just look at the tape and you see a true burner at the running back position.
No, I'm absolutely there with you, Steve. I'm going 0.4 of a unit on him here, so a little bit of a hedge with my Tuten call. And this is another guy that kind of just fits the prototype, 208 pounds, 5'10". He is projected right now to kind of be in that 4.4, that 4.42 range by a couple different platforms out there per Real Analytics, where I got their projections from. They're throwing out absolute bangers right now on the X platform, so make sure you're checking them out. But if he can, get into that, I don't think a 4.4 wins this. I think it's a 4.438 probably. You probably need a 3.8, 3.5.
I agree. I see him.
But he could get, I think he could get there. And if Tuten underperforms, he has a real shot at earning the fastest running back in this class. Kind of reminds me a couple years ago where everyone's like, okay, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the RB2 in this class. And then Jahmyr Gibbs goes out, has the fast 40. And it's like, yep, he was totally. And you guys know me. I've been on Henderson. He was my RB2 when we did my rookie preview, way back in December. I was way ahead of the curve on that. Everyone's catching up to me now. So Eric, your thoughts here on the favorites. And also I know you're going with a guy a little bit further down the board, Jaydon Blue, plus 750 right now. And this line's moving because this opened at 11.
Picture.
Yeah, no, not the most flattering picture of Jaydon Blue, a guy you'd want to run fast. But Eric, this opened at 11-1. And within the hour after it opening, like I said, I've been watching these lines like a fucking hawk for a week straight, looking to them drop. Quickly after I sent you guys a text, hey, we got lines, they're up. This went from 11-1 to 7 plus 750. So your thoughts on Blue and these other running backs we've touched on?
Yeah, I think the running back market is a little bit more indicative of the type of space that I would like to splash around in, right? We're looking at favorites that are, plus 180, plus 300, plus 250, things like that. Something where you can get a little bit of juice for going up against the field. So I'm not gonna rail on your bets for Tuten, for Henderson quite as much. I do like that Henderson bet specifically because his acceleration is insane, right? Like part of the reason why he was pulling away in that playoff game is like he found a little crease, he got through it, and he was just gone, right? So definitely don't mind that call for me with Blue, despite him maybe looking a little heavier in that headshot. I mean, he's reportedly a guy that. Yeah, he's on that Austin Ozempic tip. There's plenty of it floating around out there, but I mean, he's a guy that he's a former track star himself, right? So like, to Steve's point, like the version of himself that was running track is very different from the one that is coming out of the University of Texas, right? But if nothing else, like they're familiar with the mechanism of getting set in the blocks, getting out of there quickly, the cadence and the stride length, right? Like these are things that are a little bit more innate to those who have run track previously. So I do give a bit of credence to those that, have that notch in their belt. But there's reporting out there that, at his best, people think that he can hit 4.3, maybe even below 4.3, right? Which would be blazing fast for a running back. I don't know if he necessarily gets down to that level, but to your point, I think if someone, if you told me someone was going to go out and put a 4.35 up, I'd say they should be the betting favorite to win the fastest time for the running back position. And look, you can go to his Clemson game. You can see him breaking, I think it was like a 75-yard touchdown in that one in particular. Like he definitely has enough acceleration. He's got some of that pull away speed. And again, a lot of it is just about the number, plus 750 now. If nothing else, I'll double back here and underscore the fact that if any of these lines sound appealing to you, if you're seeing any lines out there on your own that look appealing, don't wait on it. Go pull the trigger, because these markets historically are soft, especially when they're first posted. That's why they don't post them until the night before all these guys run, right? So if you see something you like, get it before that number moves, because I feel a lot better about this bet at 11-1, which is what I originally put it in there as. I'm still happy to take it at 7.5-1.
Do you guys remember? Just a quick question. Do you guys remember who your favorite was going into last year's?
I did have a bet on Isaac Garendo. Isaac Garendo.
Did you lay it on Garendo?
16, but it was 16-1. That was my long shot. I was heavy in the running back market. On both Jahar Jordan coming out, Eric, that's one of your guys down in the Houston Texans, coming out of Louisville. So I was high on both Louisville guys, and I was also very, very high on the Tennessee running back Jalen Wright, who was the favorite.
Okay, nice. I was just curious where everyone sat last year, because I was in on Trey Benson last year.
Okay, yeah, and he actually surprised. Yeah, he was top 3, I believe, at the position. So
yeah, he was number 3 at like 4.39. So that's kind of where I come at with Henderson, like kind of the same idea.
You definitely a homer pick too last year for you, but
it was a little bit.
I'm definitely with you though on Jaydon Blue, Eric. This is a guy who kind of came on late in the season. He had 13 runs of 10 plus yards, 11 receptions of 15 plus yards. He's 6 foot flat, 200 pounds. So kind of, fits similar to the Devon Achane mold that we saw a couple years ago. Go out and have a really good 40-yard dash as well. Another former high school sprinter, 10.7 second, 100-meter yard dash. Clocked in at 22.3 miles per hour, again, per Real Analytics giving us that data. That was from 2023. So I like what Jaydon Blue's throwing out there, man. I think, plus 750. I'm down on him as well here with you, Eric. 0.3 of a unit. So, yeah, give me a little Jane Blue. Also throw out one more long shot for a running back to run the fastest 40-yard dash. And again, these
It doesn't even have a picture.
Yeah, we could not find, our producer Kyle could not find a picture of
Yo.
this guy because he's an FCS guy. And I've talked about recently on the show, I love my G5 players. Fuck the Power 4 sometimes. I like my G5 players. I like the FCS guys either. I have the Dylan Laub shares to prove it. It's sitting on all my taxi squads in Dynasty right now. And what I like about Marcus Yarns, again, shout out to my guy D-Bro over there, FP. He put me on him. He's like, hey, you got to go check out some Marcus Yarns tape. He was a big riser from him coming out of the Senior Bowl. And when I looked into it, I absolutely loved what I saw out of Yarns. Again, it's kind of always tough to judge these FCS guys, right? Because they're playing against.
Because the camera's fucking shaking like this because it's on a handheld old camera like fucking Blair Witch.
Yeah, the all 22 for Marcus Yarns is not great. I'll say that. But guy was on Bruce Feldman's freak list as well. Hit a top speed 22.9 miles per hour in 2023. And it really translates to the tape, boys. Like he's constantly hitting home runs on the ground, through the air. And he doesn't have the track background these other guys have, but 3-sport athlete. He played basketball. He played lacrosse. He was a team captain in basketball as well. So this guy can do it all here.
What does that have to do with his 40 time?
No, I'm just saying, like he's an athlete. This guy's an athlete, Steve. And at 37-1, I'm willing to take a little dart to find out, baby. Trust me, I've taken more worse darts here than a 37-1 on my boy Marcus Yarns.
I'll tell you right now, I am much more comfortable taking Yarns as my pick than like if Jaydon Blue wins and that picture is the fastest man at his position, like that's crazy.
Oh, there it is.
Look at that.
For the fine people.
If that picture wins and they're like, boom, Jaydon Blue. And that fucking picture pops up on screen. They're gonna, oh my God, that's too funny.
We got our guy. We got our guy Josh in the chat saying Tez Johnson, fastest wide receiver. Hey, you just missed us calling that out, Josh. That was one of Eric's picks at 11-1. He likes that. And throwing out an over/under prop. I can't get these in Pennsylvania because I don't prize picks or underdog plays. They don't let me do anything other than like straight best ball over in those streets. So Milroe prop is 4.38. Sheesh, that's a big one. And also Jahad Campbell there, 4.48. Eric, any thoughts on this 4.38 Milroe prop? What would you be doing with this? Because as we've said, this guy has legit straight line speed, not the shiftiest motherfucker out there, but definitely blazing fast. Some people said he was the fastest player on Alabama after Isaiah Bond transferred a season ago.
Yeah, I think realistically, this is probably a number that you should just walk away from.
What was A-Rich? Was he 4 flat or what the hell was he a couple years ago? I have to maybe
4 flat.
No, he certainly wasn't 4 flat, right? He was certainly the fastest quarterback of the year and probably in quite some time. To the point that I was making a moment ago, I went in and got a Milroe line on Prize Picks at 4.10, which I'm happy to go under on. 4.38 is really fast.
Wait, what did you get? Wait, what did you get?
I'm sorry, 4.40. 4.40 is what I got on there.
Okay, Anthony Richardson also 4.43, the 4th fastest 40-yard dash of a quarterback since 2000 as well.
So yeah, I mean, look, I think this is a pretty sharp line. It's clearly moving, right? So it's getting sharper by the minute.
Yeah.
Look, if nothing else, like you mentioned Anthony Richardson, I don't think that Jalen Milroe is the same athlete as Anthony Richardson, but he profiles very similarly in terms of what he needs to do at this year's combine. Like he is out there with arguably the highest stakes out of any player that is going to be at the combine this year. If he tests well, if he goes out there and clearly sets himself apart as an athlete in this year's quarterback class, like that's really the kind of the only hope that he has to be on NFL radars, right? So he will absolutely be close to this number. 4.38 feels like it's a little too sharp for me to feel good about clicking the button now.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm probably walking away as well, but we're getting a bunch of good numbers that Josh has thrown out for us. Oh, 4.3 on Arian Smith. That's an interesting one. I think I'd probably take the under with how high I am on Arian Smith, but
you have to if you're putting 5 units on it.
Yeah, giddy up.
Pot committed, my guy.
Josh, if you're a fan of NFL betting, NFL draft betting, man, we're going to do a draft betting show here in a couple of weeks as well, probably an early line show and then an official pick. So make sure you're tuned in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Come back to hang out with us. We appreciate all your insight, man.
I know Josh from those CBB streets over on the One and Done channel. Big Nova guy.
Oh, big cats. Big DJ. We got a little DJ. Hey, Pennsylvania proud, baby. Nova's right? All. I root for all the Pennsylvania teams. So I root for Nova when it comes March time, baby. Let's go.
A lot of teams.
I mean,
Seth is the biggest, like, I'm loyal to a team, and then we'll list like every team that's ever existed.
I root for everyone
like,
I'm in the Big Ten. I'm all 19 of them.
He's like, I'm a big fan of Wichita State. A real like.
My cousin played at Wichita. I'm just kidding.
You got enough cousins, you know somebody everywhere.
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. I'll tell you what though, I show up in random places and I can make friends with anyone anywhere and make a connection back, man. 6 feet of separation for sure. Okay, we're gonna speed through these last couple picks here. Eric, I'm throwing it over to you before Sam in the chat has an aneurysm. He loves Darien Porter, cornerback, Iowa State. This is another guy, big time track bowl. Big time track bowl is put on a clinic on the pavement or what clay? Is that what track is? Clay? Would you consider that clay? Probably.
It's like rubber, but yeah.
Deposit.
Yeah, on the clay deposit. Okay. What do you like at plus 220 here? Because I didn't have him on my card initially, but I think you could talk me into it because I'm seeing his name all around the internet over the last 5 or 6 hours since these lines have been released.
Yeah, I mean, look, shout out to our guy Sam in the chat. He hit literally every single speaking point that I had for Darien Porter out there. Clocked 23 to 24 miles per hour in several games. It wasn't just like he reached back one day and got there. Like he is all over the GPS radar and doing some wild things. At the Reese's Senior Bowl, easily, far and away, the fastest clock speed. Actually, that reference to Tariq Woolen that I mentioned before, 22.45 was his clock speed on over at Zebra Technologies. Porter 22.17, and Woolen went out and posted a sub 4.340. Right, so I think if nothing else, like Porter is pretty clearly and rightfully the betting favorite at the cornerback's position, and he's got the price that really all of the betting favorites should have, right? Like plus 180, plus 200 or so is where I start considering these. And if he goes out there and really just performs the way that we can, we've seen him do throughout the course of his career at Iowa State, then you're cashing a pretty juicy ticket.
Also 7-1 to run the fastest 40 of all the combine as well. So I think I probably will be hedging myself there because I have another bet for that market. But love the Darien Porter shout out here. We don't talk a lot of defensive players on this program, particularly a ton. So I love the DP shout out there. So thank you for that. Thank you to Sam in the chat as well. Steve, throwing it over to you to the tight end market, man. We have a really heavy favorite over there as well, which is creating some value down the board from a guy we've talked about on this program quite a bit. Another G5 standout, my guy Harold Fannin, MAC Offensive Player of the Year, led the nation in receiving yards and receptions. I'm a big fan of Harold Fannin. You think he can go out there guns a-blazing, in the 40?
I sure do. I knew that this was going to make you lightheaded when I came up with this particular pick, because this is the most athletic tight end in the draft. This is the guy. And, I know that hurts to hear as a Tyler Warren stan that you are, but Harold Fannin is a freak. I've watched his tape more and more and more leading up, like as I've gone through and had to like prep for the show and stuff. I think he's my tight end one. I think he's my tight end one.
I think we're getting a little. Eric was saying
I think he's my tight end one, and I think he's going to run a 40 time that's going to make people really, really excited. Like I'm talking like in the 4.6s. Like I think he's going to be fast. I think he's that fast. This is going to be crazy to watch. This dude is a freak athlete. I think he's going to. This is a guy whose draft stock is going to rise very quickly. Really, really, really suddenly. And I think the combine is going to be the reason why.
Okay. And kind of circling back to Darien Porter there, he's 2-1 now. So that line's also moving. So we're getting a little bit of movement there. And that favorite as well for the tight end. I can never pronounce this guy's name. I'm sorry. Rondé Gadsden II. Am I there, Eric? Am I there? -140. So this another guy that's kind of started popping my algorithm a little bit. Honestly, didn't know a ton about him, but obviously the favorite for a reason there in the tight end market, Eric.
Yeah, I think it's really kind of a 3-horse race between Gadsden, between Fannin, and between Elijah Arroyo as who's gonna post the fastest number at the tight end position, right? So like,
is Elijah Arroyo even running?
I hadn't seen reporting if he's running or not. I think he's on the board, at least the betting board that I saw. So if he's not, it's news to me. If he was out there, he would be in that conversation. If not, then it's a 2-horse race. Probably the next man up would be like Tyler Warren, but I don't think he's going to get south of 4.7, right? So all the more reason to really go in on Harold Fannin, who's very likely to be at, if not slightly below 4.6 as the number that he clocks in at. The price itself is exactly right. And I agree and disagree with Steve. I think that Harold Fannin will be the first tight end off the board.
Ooh,
I don't think it'll necessarily be. Yeah, absolutely.
Brother, he's a day 2 pick at best. And I love Harold Fannin.
Well, no tight ends are going in the first round, but we have a different bet on the records for that.
That's a different show. Yeah, get ready for buckle in for that, folks. Because if you thought I was heavy on Arian Smith, get ready for my bet on the Tyler.
We're gonna have to chip away at all of Seth's PSU allegiances in that draft betting show. But I digress. Where I sort of disagree with Steve about his draft stock is I don't know if the combine is going to be the reason why, right? Like you can turn on any of his games. When he torched your beloved Nittany Lions, when he did the same against Texas A&M, the film shows exactly what sort of freakish athlete he is. For me, and we talked about this heading into Mobile a few weeks ago, his ability to maintain that level against the best of the best in a higher level of competition was really the only outstanding question, and he answered it swimmingly in Mobile. Obviously he is going to have to continue to showcase himself as a freakish athlete to stay on as many people's early draft boards as possible. Sure. So going out there and posting a 4.59 4.6 flat is a great way to stay on the radar.
Okay, last bet for us here in the NFL Combine markets. I'm going back to my guy Arian Smith, 3-1.
This is the correct bet.
Yeah, fastest overall time at the NFL Combine. I'm also going to take a +7.5 flyer as well, +750 flyer on Porter as well, after Eric kind of talked me into that one. But what I like specifically about this is 3 of the last 7 years, 42.8% of the time, a receiver has run the fastest overall 40-yard dash time. Those occurrences included Xavier Worthy last year, 4.21, Henry Ruggs, 2020, 4.27, and John Ross, 2017, 4.22. I say those wide receivers specifically because there's one thing they all have in common. They are no taller than 6'0", and they are sub 190 pounds. Well, would you look at Smith? He is 6 foot flat, and he was 185 pounds, so fits the mold exactly. I think Porter's going to give him a run for his money, but I think it's a 2-horse race, so I think you can kind of albatross yourself a little bit here. So I'm willing to roll the dice for Smith to get the best of the rest of the field at a 3-1 payout. Eric, I know you're down on this one as well.
Yeah, this is another one that I put into the prep sheet because this is the correct answer. If you think that Arian Smith is fast enough to earn a -105 price tag in the wide receiver pool, you should absolutely take 3-1 for him to be the fastest runner on the day, right? Like, I don't know if you've actually locked in that card, but like, see if there's a buyout. Go move all of those options, all those units from him to be the fastest receiver down to this. These are the market inefficiencies that you have to take advantage of, right? Like if you're gonna lay juice on a player to be the fastest receiver, go get him to be the fastest player overall, right?
Yeah,
I agree.
Another player that I was looking at the time, Tez Johnson, plus 1100 in the overall, plus 1100 in the wide receiver market, right? Those are pretty well dialed in.
Whoa.
But
That's
Jimmy
interesting.
Horn, plus 1200 to be the fastest player overall, but plus 750 to be the fastest wide receiver on the day, right? So like definitely keep scrolling and see if there are any albatross options as you look at the individual positions versus the overall fastest time.
I just want to put this out there. If Keandre Lambert-Smith comes in here, he's 15-1 to be the fastest wide receiver. If he does this and he fucks me over, I'm not going to be able to live with myself, because this guy couldn't catch a freaking cold when he was at Penn State, man. Like, this guy dropped everything near him. And then
how many passes did they have to catch during the 40-yard dash?
I was gonna say, are they throwing footballs at them in the
none, but no, but I'm just
that would
saying,
be kind of
like,
sick, honestly. Like when
this guy burned
when
me.
we need to fix the combine in a few years, we should definitely have them dodging footballs while they're trying to go down the line.
I think you should have to run the 40-yard dash and then catch a ball over your shoulder at full speed.
I mean,
You get some of that with the gauntlet.
This ain't the circus. This combine.
It kind of is.
Absolutely.
It is
add-
the circus.
can't
It
just
absolutely
add-
is the NFL circus.
It is 100% the circus.
No, that's the Pro Bowl games. That's the Pro Bowl games. What are the Pro Bowl games then?
Those are for
Field
NFL
day.
players. These are for prospects.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, come on. It's fun. I love the combine.
I was
I love
making
it
it
too.
more fun. All I say was throwing a football at him.
Listen, all I'm going to say is I think this is one of the most underrated sports weeks of the year. Not only do we have the NFL Combine Saturday, I'm going to be glued to my TV all day. We got an Xfinity Series race we're going to handicap tomorrow. We also have a full NASCAR race on Sunday. We also have IndyCar returning on Sunday. So, boys, I'm locked in. Last weekend, Katie and I we went out with some friends and went bowling into an arcade and had a couple brewskis, and not this week. I'm locked in.
That sounds like a real Pennsylvania weekend.
Yeah, that's what we do out here.
Bowling, cow tipping. What else do you guys do up there?
Oh, we might visit the
Yell at the
Amish
Amish.
farms. Yeah, hey, they're right.
Literally.
They're right. Yeah,
Literally.
I go to the farm on Saturday morning. That's usually actually what I
Churn
do.
butter,
Hello, Jeremiah.
Dude,
how are you?
Hashtag not a sponsor, but Shady Acres. It's a little farm market up from me. I got a great little deli, like great produce.
Hashtag they'll never see this.
Yeah. I don't think they have.
They still don't have internet.
Actually, they're Mennonite, so they do have internet, I believe. But at the same time, they do a great little job out there. So just wanted to shout out Shady Acres if you're gonna talk about the Amish, because they got the meats, they got great produce, and eggs are actually decently, like, fresh eggs out there. Actually, I know it's pretty hard to come by these days, but fresh eggs pretty cheap out there. So yeah, shout out.
Let's get it.
All right, guys, let's round out the show here with our feel good headlines of the week and good news. All right, it's good news. Our feel-good headlines of the week from the sports and pop culture world. Eric, you're keeping us in the NFL streets. What do you have for us, man?
Yeah, I don't know if this is necessarily good news, but it made me smile and it made me chuckle, and that's got to be worth something. Raiders minority owner Tom Brady himself, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Just so happened to bump into old Matthew Stafford at a ski resort in Montana, as one does, right? You just kind of happen to be in Montana skiing, and there is arguably the most desirable pseudo free agent in the market for the team that you're a partial owner in, that is very much so in need of a quarterback. According to reporting, I see most of the reporting through Ian Rappaport. Tom Brady did no quote hosting or quote recruiting with Stafford, but the reporting indicates that might not be the case. The funny thing about all of this, the reason why it really made me smile, is this was exactly the sort of serendipitous encounter that the Dolphins brass was trying to arrange between Tom Brady and the then Miami football head coach
Yeah.
that ultimately got them fined $1.5 million and cost the Dolphins a first-round pick. And it's kind of funny that Tom Brady is now taking the lessons learned from that and making sure to use the absolutely correct language and labels, saying that he's not hosting, he's not tampering, right? He knows exactly what to say to avoid that case. And I mean, look, it's objectively hilarious because the Dolphins can just never seem to catch a break. I also think it's kind of interesting, right? Like the Raiders have a long way to go before being competitive. That's why the Pete Carroll hiring felt a little weird, right? Like that dude's on like a 2 or 3 year clock tops. But I mean, maybe they push all their chips into the middle of the table, right? And like
I think they're
try to
going
go out
in.
and get Stafford. Yeah. So this could be the first of those dominoes to fall.
They go
however,
get Devontae Adams back. Go trade for him,
dude. They legitimately could.
Reportedly, Devontae Adams is a package deal with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
He's talking to the Rams, saying, "If you want Adams, you got to bring me along," which is just makes me so happy to see the lows that Aaron Rodgers has found himself in.
That's so dumb. Any team that does that deserves to lose.
All I'll say on this is that I absolutely agree with you, Eric. I was working on my mock draft 2.0 earlier today, and I actually do believe the Raiders are going to go in the veteran quarterback market here during the free agency trading period, just because, look, you don't bring in Pete Carroll if you're starting a fresh rebuild, right? And that's, I think, really the message here. And the other funny thing about this, too, is like, didn't Stafford like just end up in a hot tub a couple of years ago with Sean McVay down Hawaii or something? And a couple of weeks later, Jared Goff ends up traded, and Stafford ends up out there in Los Angeles. So
I think Matt Stafford's the one orchestrating all these. All these people are starting to look shady. It's always Matt Stafford being the one like floating around.
It's his wife, bro. It's his wife. His wife's
she's stalking these people on social media, being like, "They're in Montana. Pack your bag."
Yeah, she's always gaming the system, bro. She gamed the system with Matthew Stafford too.
Well, she's not going to sit there and be like, "Yeah, we'll just let the chips fall where they may." That's how you wind up in like fucking Seattle or something. Even Seattle isn't that bad, but like you don't want to end up in some shit market. Lovely. You know what I mean? Like you want to be in Vegas. You want to be in. If you're going from LA, you can't end up in like some shitberg place. Even like
hey, easy,
Tennessee.
Easy. I thought you were gonna throw Pittsburgh under the bus.
No, you don't want to end up in Pittsburgh though either. Like,
whoa, what's the best city in the country, brother?
No, it isn't. Stop. I've been there. I've been to that weird little rusty pit that you call a city. Like, relax.
Why is Pittsburgh the best city in the country? Those bridges look sick.
It's
like,
in
that's
Pennsylvania.
Cool.
It's in Pennsylvania, brother.
Pennsylvania's
there's a lot of cities in Pennsylvania.
Is like it's a barely middle tier state.
Oh, I think it's about. We could have a whole podcast on geography because you guys know but I'm blessed.
Yeah, because you're the biggest homer.
I am, and I'm all right with that, brother. I'm all right with that. Speaking of homers, my good news of the week is Delaware and Missouri State gearing up for their first FBS football season. Delaware coming from the FCS Conference Coastal Athletic Association. Missouri State also former FCS program in the Missouri Valley Conference. They'll both be joining the Conference USA, the CUSA, or the CUSA, as many people call it out there in the CFB streets. And why I thought this was kind of, my good news of the week is like, I remember a few years ago when I went to a Division II school. Again, shout out IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania. And there was some buzz going around. We were always in the Final Four or the championship game for the D2 college football championship. And I remember the excitement when people said, hey, we might be going D1. And that was even potentially an FCS level at first, and how much, stir around the campus that kind of created. So I think it'd be such a fun time to be a Delaware or Missouri State, not even player or coach, but also just a student there, man. Like Division I football hits fucking different. It really does, even at the FCS level. And now that these guys are also taking the step from FCS to FBS, where it's a whole other ball game, I'm ecstatic for this, Steve. This is something I just love to see. We see guys like, Marcus Yarns, who we talked about on this show from Delaware. We couldn't even get a damn player profiler pick for this guy. So it's just great news all around, man. The more the merrier up here in the FBS. Officially 136 teams in the mix for a championship come 2025.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. I don't know about Eric, but am I the only one who went to it? Like, I went to a D1s. I went to Florida State, so I've experienced the D1 college football lifestyle. Eric, did you go to a D1 school?
So I've got an interesting relationship with college football, in so much as I was at UTSA to vote on whether or not we should start a football program, but
Oh,
wasn't actually there to
Oh, wow.
to reap the benefit. It was cool though, because UTSA, Go Roadrunners, we were founded in 1969, and up until that point, there was no shortage of merchandise that said UTSA football undefeated since '69.
That's actually sick. Yeah, so my first year at Florida State was the year we won the Natty. So when you talk about like buzz and electricity in
yeah.
the air, like
Oh
you
my
can't compare
gosh.
anything to the feel of a college football atmosphere. Game days,
Yeah.
you got 200,000 people would descend upon Tallahassee, knowing that only 90,000 could get into the stadium. You were walking down, and I'm not even kidding. You'd walk down, people were just handing you 40s for $1, like shots of Fireball for $1, and you're wasted by the time you get to the stadium. Everyone's like having a good time. The vibes are high. It's unlike
Yeah.
anything you've ever experienced. I love watching TikToks of like people from foreign countries coming to America and going to a college football game for the first time. And they're just like, this is unbelievable. Like the
Yeah.
level of
Yeah.
excitement in that. So
Yeah.
congrats to both these programs, because
Yeah.
that is a game changer for your school.
Yeah, 100%, man. And yeah, I actually remember meeting a foreign gentleman at one point at a tailgate at a Penn State game, and he was just taken back. It felt like, but by just the buzz and the
Oh yeah.
excitement up there in Happy Valley on a lovely fall afternoon. So yeah. Shout out to Delaware and Missouri State. Congratulations on making the FBS, and good luck to you this season. Steve, thrown over to you for your feel good headline of the week, taking us to the pop culture world. What do you have?
Naturally, I'm going to go to the pop culture world. Horror is back, and we got back to back to back hits now. Eric. One of those was Companion. The other one was Hard Eyes, and the third one is The Monkey. Now,
all reviewed on inbetweenmedia.com, by the way. Check out the site.
There's the plug. Love it. Yeah, Hard Eyes, incredible. Return to form for the slasher genre. The Monkey is a gore fest of like just so much fun. It's so wild. It's insane. Companion is probably the best movie of the three of them. Actually, Hard Eyes probably is, but Companion is a very, very good movie. And I wanted to bring this up when I saw Good News, which is Eric's favorite program. I wanted to bring it up because Eric and I vehemently disagree on Companion. For those of you who have seen it, you understand the power that movie had, the incredible twists and turns throughout it.
Mm-hmm.
Eric doesn't appreciate a good movie, is the problem.
Wow. So your good news is throwing Eric under the bus? I mean,
My good news is that despite Eric's more pedestrian movie takes sometimes, horror is back, and I love every second of it. I live for horror.
Congrats to horror movie, Eric. I'm not gonna throw it to you to give you, I don't think I need the full breakdown of why Companion is a shit movie, but yeah, no, give it to me. What do you got? What Companion shit movie? What do you got?
I'll be brief. First, I will say that I 100% agree with Steve's broader point. Like, horror is back. It is arguably some of the best IP film work out there in today's day and age.
About it.
Two of the three movies that he mentioned are absolutely incredible. And part of my issue with Companion is that it is essentially an AI themed horror movie.
Yes.
And as a confine, I think that there is so much potential with that sort of construct, right? Like, you can do so many things with it, and it felt like they just they sort of rushed their way through it. They hit all of the tropes. Like, I don't really recall any like jaw-dropping twists in it, right? Like, solid movie. If I didn't hold it to such high regard with my expectation, I probably wouldn't be quite so disappointed with the output. But yeah, it wasn't for me. And as I was talking with my wife about it the morning after we saw it, it's like, yeah, I think I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I think this movie could have been so much more.
Oh, Eric's working that line out for when his kids get older. He's starting to workshop that so he can say it when
100%.
Oh, he's already set. Don't you worry. I know
I'm not
Eric.
mad. I'm just disappointed.
He's pulling it out there. But dude, guys, I wish I could add more to the horror discussion. As I said, don't watch horror movies. But
why not? Why don't you?
When I relax, I want to laugh.
It's not
Or I want to
relaxing.
be
Like,
informed, and it's just it's not for me, bro. Like, I don't like my heart beating like that. Like, I've been through some horrors in life, dog. Like, I'm about good vibes and laughing and having fun. So, that's where I am. But Steve, nonetheless, if you guys like Steve's entertainment takes, you can find him over on Popcorn and Root Beer right here on the IBT Media YouTube channel. Eric's here with us as well as Steve every Tuesday night, 9:35 p.m. Eastern time. Usually, thanks for hanging out with us a day later than usual to get these combine picks in. Easiest way to support us, like this video if you enjoy this type of content. Also, subscribe to the whole damn channel if you enjoy NFL, college football, NASCAR, PGA, or entertainment betting. We got you hooked up there. Check out the site inbetweenmedia.com. Get yourself a 2025 draft night out ticket if you want to come draft with us and 200 of our best friends. That'll do it for us tonight on the IBT podcast. As always, please keep it in between. Until next time, for Steve Lawson and Eric Romoff, I'm Seth Woolcock. Take care, y'all.